case, I'd like to invite our esteemed colleague, Professor Avadhesh, who will be speaking a little different from what all has been spoken till now. He'll be talking about current and translational research in anti-VEGFs and what the future holds for us.
Good morning to all my teachers and dear colleagues. So I'll be taking you backward in the history and forward in time about the anti-VEGFs, their newer molecules, and newer methods of injection. So the journey started when we called this anti-VEGF as factor X, and then slowly, newer molecules, they appeared in the horizon, and now we have ample choices of molecules who have longer duration of action and better ocular penetration. So this is just a graph showing how in 1853, the disease most commonly for which it is used, that was diagnosed, and then newer molecules, they started appearing. So this is the basic pathophysiology in dry AMD and wet AMD. More so in wet AMD, 3 sites the drug should act is new vessel formation and fluid exudation and changes in the drusen's over time. So these are the 3 targets for inflammatory factors: new vessels and fluid accumulation. Any drug has to be, if it has to be efficacious, then it has to affect these 3 sites. So for the future, there are ample number of molecules which are under various phases of trials, and I'll cover them in detail slightly later. But the most commonly used anti-VEGF agents are as shown in the slide. The molecule just before brolucizumab was aflibercept, which is still in wide use. There are new drugs which are being tried, wherein they act on the oxidative stress and other external factors. However, with all these molecules, still there is biggest unmet need of treatment burden to a country like ours. The frequency of injection. We may reduce the frequency of injection by any of the molecules, but if we talk about the total financial loss to the person, suppose he has to travel, a person, generally these patients are elderly, and suppose a bread earner is accompanying that patient, then the frequency becomes important. Then the response, sometimes the patient after a certain number of injections becomes non-responder. What to do in those situations? And a patient compliance. When I was a resident, I always used to think that the cost of 1 injection is 50,000 rupees. That would equivalent to 1 iPad. And how a common man could afford that every month or every 3 months? And also the duration of action. So to answer some of these questions, biosimilars, they were manufactured mainly because the patent of these drugs was expiring, and newer molecules, they were ready to be launched. A biosimilar is defined as a product which is comparable in quality and clinical evaluation. The cost is reduced because it is made by reverse engineering. However, this immunogenicity, which actually erupts time and again with these products, is important. Now even there is a concept of bio-betters, because since we are doing reverse engineering, it is possible to make these molecules. So this is just a graph showing the comparative cost of the drug if taken into account the duration of action. So is the big change around the corner with these biosimilars? Yes, but there are patent issues, and cost is also one concern. So definitely the lessons which we have learned from all these anti-VEGF era is that there is a separate, different need for the developing world. We need to have compounding pharmacies, and also pharmacovigilance and quality control, which is very important for reducing the number of intraocular inflammations when we use these drugs. Another drug not very popular because not all the institutes can actually import it, but it is a isomer of aflibercept, and it has also given excellent results. During my fellowship in LVPI, large number of injections, when they retrospectively were studied, it was found that the comparison was similar to the aflibercept. Brolucizumab is definitely a superior molecule because it's a single chain fragment, which is the smallest functional unit of antibody. And however, the chances of inflammation are more, which needs to be identified at earliest and managed appropriately. So it is because of the engineering of brolucizumab for efficacy and durability, and it has got superior anti-VEGF binding ability per volume. Newer molecule like conbercept, it's an anti-VEGF fusion protein, and it has been in use in China since 2013, and various well-structured trials have also shown superior results. Another drug is faricimab, which actually is a molecule which acts as at two antibody sites. One is the anti-VEGF Ang receptor, and other is at VEGF-A Fab. So this working at two sites makes it more scientifically plausible to have superior effect at VEGF-A and Ang2 site. Various trials of phase 2 like Avenue and Stairway, and phase 3 like Tenia and Lucerine, they have shown that they could be treated, 60% of these patients could be treated quarterly, and in 80% the treatment interval was for 3 months or more. However, we use this anti-VEGF as Ganga Jal to wash off any sins of the retina, but always there is a dark side to the moon, and we should always think of systemic side effects which these drugs can cause. And as such, these patients are elderly and have, most of them would have some or other comorbidity. And always during injections, standard guidelines should be followed, like use of perioperative antibiotic and use of facial mask. While for a comprehensive ophthalmologist, whenever giving such injections, we should talk minimum in the OT, and always we should use facial mask, because most of the time the offending organism is from our own oral flora. There are certain other delivery systems which are actually being used in patients. They have a reservoir of the drug, and there is continuous diffusion of the molecule in the ocular cavity. And this is a port delivery system. The surgery is not very difficult. After making a sclerotomy, you place this reservoir in the eye, and then it can be topped up as and when required. So this is the extrascleral flange and a septum with a silicone coating and body. This is how it looks inside the eye. So there is a clinical trial, ladder clinical trial, wherein the top-up period could vary. The time to refill was 15 months. So definitely it will cut down on the visits to the patients. There are various other drugs like sunitinib maleate, and these are other drugs which are on the horizon, which are in the development phase. Another thing is about the anti-VEGF injections. Now they are available in pre-filled injections, so it is safer because any manipulation, any drawing out from the vials, that is avoided. And also, we have now sharper and thinner needles from 34 gauge to 32 gauge. So there is a study which shows that finer needles, they may cause sudden IOP rise. So we have to be careful about that. Then now even newer indications, even non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy and retinopathy of prematurity, they are also in the expanded indications for anti-VEGFs. There is another promising strategy for sustained anti-VEGF delivery in the retina, that is with the nanoparticles. And it has got, like Ozurdex, it has a core where the drug is in the reservoir, and slowly it is released. And these are various phases of drug release from these hydrogel-based sustained delivery systems. Even now, there are composite drug delivery systems in various phases of development, and they have easy migrations, but they can cause easy migration of particle, and they are high toxicity. Gene therapy is no longer science fiction now, and various drugs, they are under trial, and it basically also gene editing with a CRISPR-9 gene, which has got high efficacy and high cost performance. However, there are some concerns with gene therapy, like long-term efficacy, and it is still very expensive. Another space which has been explored extensively nowadays is the suprachoroidal space, where you deposit the drug. However, the anti-VEGF injections into this space has not give very favorable outcome because of rapid diffusion of the drug from this space. But with newer molecules and newer delivery systems, this space is going to get its due attention. The devices to inject in suprachoroidal space, they are not available commercially. They are just a part of various trials. However, this is one drug which can be given through 3 routes, subretinal, and suprachoroidal space. So this will be an in-office procedure because it will be suprachoroidal, so the intraocular infections and those chances would be less. Another suprachoroidal treatment is a retinal restoration technique wherein some cells are injected and the aim is to produce the growth factors at chorioretinal level. So to facilitate this, we also innovated a suprachoroidal injection needle, which is a simple modification to a 26-gauge needle, wherein we use the outer sheath of a cannula to cover the needle, and only the beveled edge remains exposed. And like a subconjunctival injection, you just make a perpendicular entry, and then the drug can be delivered. We generally give 4 milligrams of triamcinolone, which we have tried till now. And there not had been any complications. So this route, as I said, will be more useful even for delivery of gene therapy. And now this is getting word over, it has become popular, and it is getting citations and various other uses people are trying. To conclude, newer molecules, biosimilars, and delivery systems are in pipeline. They will be less invasive, longer acting, and sustained release formulation. Great promise and potential that delivery systems will significantly impact the standard of care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Oli, and fantastic presentation. But everyone here will like to know your thoughts about the new molecule, especially faricimab. Everybody is talking about it. Now here we have a molecule which, as far as the theory is concerned, seems to be excellent, that it will be acting on 2 targets rather than 1. But it's surprisingly priced extremely high, close to about 60 to 70,000. So what are your thoughts about this particular?
Yeah, when we talk biologically and scientifically, definitely it's a promising molecule because it will be acting at 2 receptors. But the real world data still it is awaited to actually say that how much would be efficacy and what would be the treatment interval. And cost-wise also, depending on the treatment required, the treatment interval which will be required, it will be time only which would tell, though the trials support that it is the most efficacious molecule right now.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the audience?